Hey guys, welcome to No Filters, Just Freedom, the show for people who are ready to stop shrinking, start rising, and live with unapologetic audacity. My name is Jasmine, I'm a life coach, and I'm here to guide us all through this journey of bold, authentic living.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a good one. Today we're here to fight against the new tyranny we're living under, the pressure for every moment to be extraordinary. And living in the moment isn't some spiritual bypass or demand to be blissfully ignorant. It's the ultimate act of rebellion. It's claiming the only time you've ever actually controlled over, right now. Today we're breaking out of the mental prison of past regrets and future anxieties. We're talking about the gritty, sometimes brutal, but always liberating practice of radical presence. It's about dropping the argument with reality and finally showing up for your one real, messy, and perfectly imperfect life. Freedom isn't getting what you want. It's wanting what you have exactly how it is. So to understand the now, we must first identify what pulls us out of it. Here's something crazy to think about. Suffering equals pain times resistance. Okay? Suffering is pain times resistance. There's a situation that hurts us, and when we start pulling and resisting and doing all of these things against it, now we're suffering for the cause. Our struggle against reality is what causes most of our anguish. We first struggle with our past. Okay, you can do that via regret, resentment, nostalgia, whatever that is. It's where we get this concept of the past can hurt. Okay, you look at something and when it comes to nostalgia, you're like, man, I wish that was there. It's a really big thing when it comes to grief. I know for me personally, I have to be careful with it. Having deaths in the family, I can't just look back and be like, oh, remember when this, and oh, I had this with my family member or whatever else. It can be really dangerous. It can be really hurtful for me if I dig too deep into that, okay? Or if you've had a really bad breakup or you've lost a friend or a job, you may have regret, okay? And sometimes those regrets of wishing things had been different or wanting them to be better can also lead to resentment. The resentment of, it should have been, I can't believe this was done to me, I deserve better, I hate this person for this, and now look at where my life is because of it. All of that is a lot that can make you struggle, which can cause you anxiety and anguish, okay? You don't want to keep replaying old stories because they can keep us trapped. Your past is a place of reference, not a place of residence, okay? You can definitely see how your life kind of took twists and turns, and part of what you've been through makes up part of who you are now. That there is truth in that, but it is not a place you live in. It is not, it may be part of who you are, but it is not who you are. You are more than the sum of your past, whether or not it's good, bad, mistakes, or whatever else. You are more than that. That's just a small piece of who you are. And we have to walk past the struggles of that, our brains naturally try to tell us when it comes to thinking about what we've been through. We have to overcome that struggle. Then we also struggle with our futures, okay? We have this need to predict and control, which creates endless worries. Okay, that is literally the definition of anxiety. Okay, we send ourselves into a spiral because we're like, well, what if this happens? Or what if this happens? Or what if this happens? And so much of it is also tied to our past because you're trying to control the future so that it doesn't look like your past. And you've got this really negative cycle because you're reminiscing on the stories from the past and now you're trying to control your future and you just can't get out of it. You can't snap out of it. You can't get your brain or your life or anything else to think about and function differently. You're stuck. You're stuck and you're spinning. And it's terrible. And you're struggling and you're resisting and you're in pain and ergo you suffer. All right? You cannot predict and control the future. I wish we could. If we could, our lives would be perfect. I would be a billionaire because I hit the lottery. I mean, there are all kinds of things that could happen if we could actually control the future. But since we can't, and you barely see that in general when it comes to movies and superheroes, They always talk about it, whether you're doing like, okay, if you're a Marvel fan, they talk about the multiverse, or you're just doing any simple person with time travel or whatever else. One of the main things they talk about is if you're in the future and you affect it, it will affect the past. Okay, you cannot dictate what happens in the future without affecting what's going on here. None of us have complete and utter control of the future, unfortunately, okay? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever happens right now will change the course of the future. That's how it works. So there's no reason to have anxiety over it when no one can do it, when it's not possible, when it's not even something intellectually fathomable. Okay, you just can't do it. It just doesn't work. So stop stressing about it. Okay, planning is useful, but pre-living every possible catastrophe is a form of self-torture. You're just torturing yourself, and you don't have to do it. The common thread here between our past and our future is avoidance. Often we flee to the past or the future to avoid discomfort in the present. A difficult emotion, a boring task, or an unresolved conflict, our mind would rather time travel than feel what's real right now. And I know it's hard because being in the presence is a muscle we don't often strengthen. All right? It is definitely stressful. It is definitely hard because our natural tendency is to not want pain. And if I have pain right now, I need to do whatever it takes to remove the pain from me. And when it's physical, we just get up and move. My hand was on the stove. I'm burning myself. I need to remove my hand. Okay, these are things that make sense, you know? I stubbed my toe on this coffee table, and from here on out, I'm gonna make a wide circle around this coffee table to make sure my foot isn't anywhere near it again. Okay, it's really easy when it's physical pain. But when it's mental and emotional, the only way we know how to really do it is dissociation. The only way we know how to step away is, to actively make a point to not deal with it, to not think about it, to avoid. And so to stay in the moment is a thing we have to actively fight for. It's a thing we have to actively push ourselves to do. It is a muscle, and muscles have to be trained. It is something that you can do. It is something that you can practice. It is something you can get better in, like any good strengthening of a muscle, but you have to use it. And if you don't use it, it atrophies. And so we all have the ability to do it, but if that muscle isn't worked out, it just decays and almost dies. And then it's almost impossible to use. Okay? So here are some ways to train that presence muscle, and it doesn't require any meditation or a pillow. Okay? It can be just simple things that help you pay attention, okay? 3 simple things. The first is you're gonna try a 90-second body scan, okay? In 90 seconds. It'll go by quickly if you're focused on what you need to focus on, okay? It's hyper practical, and you can use it anywhere. Because you know what? Anxiety hits anywhere. It just shows up when we're not prepared for it to show up. And so this 90-second body scan can be very helpful. So when you feel anxious or distracted, pause. And then for 90 seconds, ask, what do I feel in my feet? Or what do I feel in my hands? Or what's one thing that I hear? Because the truth is, it's really hard to resist what pulls away into your senses, okay? Because if you're focused on your senses, it forces you to focus on the here and the now, because that's what your senses are. They're the present. Okay? What am I feeling in this moment? Okay? I'm standing in line, and what do I hear? Because I'm angry that I'm in line and the line's taking forever. I'm in traffic. What do I hear? What are my feet doing? Okay? I'm on the brake. I'm not on the brake. I put my car in park. Whatever I did. Where are my feet? Are my hands on the steering wheel, or are they in my hair out of frustration? Or am I choosing to turn the dial on the radio to make the time go away? What am I doing? And if you can force yourself to figure something out, it's a hard reset, okay? It's a hard reset. And sometimes that's what we need when we're spiraling out of control. Think about it like a quick mental slap. Okay, you are just getting jarred completely out of whatever's happening in that moment. Just completely jarred out. And sometimes we need that. Okay, so you can do a 90-second body scan. The next thing you can do is single tasking, okay? Because single tasking is a radical act. Multitasking is a myth. I know it sounds crazy. When I first, heard that or was taught that, it blew my mind. Okay, it blew my mind when I was dealing with different doctors and mindfulness and everything else. And they're like, you can't multitask. Nothing is going to be done well because you're only one person and you will spread yourself too thin. Okay, you only have a specific finite amount of energy to be put towards something. And so if you do multiple things, you're splitting your capacity to get it done. So if I am splitting something into 3 parts, if every part is equal, I can only do it up to 67%. Each item only gets 66.7%. Just not possible. If I were to split it into 2, it would be 50%. If I were to split it into 4, it would be 25%. That would be even. Or I could just make it up as I go. And if I split it into 4 parts, one of them could get 80%. And then the other 3 are fighting between 20%. Like, we could mix and match this and figure out what it needs to be and how to pull it off. But no matter what, nothing is getting 100%. But when you do one single task, you can give it your undivided attention and do it 100% of the time. And you can do it 100% well. Okay? So single tasking as a radical act means you choose to do one thing, just one thing with full attention. All right. It's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel weird because we are naturally addicted to distraction. And I say we're addicted because our bodies naturally, we're kind of nosy, we're kind of functioning. It's like if you've ever seen a newborn and they may be focused on something and then you make a noise and they turn their head because they're like, what was that? I've never heard that before. What was that? What is something weird? We're naturally inclined to be distracted. We're naturally inclined to want to be intrigued by something else that we're not in. When it's extreme, we call it FOMO, okay? Like, oh, what's happening over there? What if I'm missing out on something? I want to know. Either way, we're very distracted from the moment. And you sometimes have to do things to keep that distraction from coming to you, okay? So for me, it can be something as simple as, sure, there's not really anything else happening in my house when I'm recording the podcast, but I still put headphones in and I still try to focus on the computer screen. And I do that because if I'm focused my senses on the thing and I stop something from affecting the other ones, then it doesn't matter if my dog moves or my husband goes to the kitchen or whatever else, because I'm focused on recording. I'm focused on the podcast and I'm focused on hearing what I need to hear. Okay. The freedom of immersion is indefinitely more satisfying than the frazzledness of splitting your attention. Okay. I'm telling you, there is freedom in being fully immersed in something. The closest sometimes you can get to it is when you're doing something fun that you enjoy, like being immersed in a video game for me, or focusing on something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the stuff that you enjoy when you look up and 3 hours have passed. And you were enjoying it and it was amazing, but you were fully invested and immersed in that situation. So whether or not it's binging a TV show, games, a good book, we all know the experience of what it means to be fully immersed, and there is a freedom in it. There is a freedom in not feeling like you have to do 50 things at one time, okay? And that's what we're fighting for. Do a single task and make it be your radical act of freedom. And then the last thing we can do to train our presence muscle is to embrace the uncomfortable pause. Now this is often the most difficult for people. Sometimes it's the most difficult for me because there is a thing called awkward silence. And you don't know how to feel it and you don't know what that looks like and you're not sure if you're even supposed to feel it, and it's awkward. And we don't like awkward. We don't like uncomfortable, but you have to embrace the uncomfortable, okay? There is power in not immediately reacting to something. There's power in that because it requires you to focus. It requires you to be intentional. It requires you to take time to think about something before you do it. I am naturally an impulsive person, okay? I just am. But what makes me impulsive, and it's a very important distinction because this is how I can have anxiety and I can spiral. I am not impulsive because of my actions. I am impulsive because I don't pause before I think through 50 scenarios to then make an act. Okay, a lot of people think that you can be impulsive or even that I'm impulsive because I didn't think through something. No, I thought through it. I just thought through it very quickly. I thought through it quickly because I didn't pause. I took a moment to say, okay, this is what I heard. This is what I believe. What else can I do about it? How can I run with it? What does this look like? Okay, this is the best course of action. Go. And sure, I did that from 0 to 10 in like 3 seconds, but it doesn't mean I didn't think through it. But I thought through it so quickly. I was single-minded focused on one task, and I made a choice that didn't look or think about all the other actions. I didn't pause to take a breath, to see more, to hear more, to focus on more than what I originally heard. Impulsiveness is the opposite of the uncomfortable pause. All right. And there is power in not immediately reacting. So what you can do is take a breath when you're stressed, pause, and then you can also just listen in conversations. Okay. When somebody's talking, you don't have to automatically have a response. You can mull over what they said. You can be like, that's an interesting thought. Let me sit on that before I respond. You know, you're actually intentionally immersed in the conversation, not trying to hear your voice, not trying to get your point across, not trying to stress or function in other areas. You are 100% involved and invested. And sometimes when you're stressed, you have to remember to pause and listen. Just pause for a moment. It's gonna be okay. Because what that also allows you to do is to follow mentally your spiral to a conclusion that you'll probably find out is wrong. Okay? Because we said that you are living pre-living every possible catastrophe. All right? But you got to take that to completion to realize, you know what? That is so not probable. It's not probable. So let me reel it back. Let me think about what is a real possibility, and then let me act accordingly. And all of that takes time and effort, and you do not have that when you act and react out of stress. Okay? The space between stimulus and response is where your freedom grows. All right? I'm going to say that again. The space between stimulus and response is where your freedom grows, because that's the present muscle. That's the thing that I'm sitting here, I'm in the moment, I'm thinking about what's being brought to the table, and I'm like, okay, this is causing me to think about something, but I don't have to respond right away. And the belief and the understanding and the mental fortitude to understand that you don't have to react right away, but you can take time to process is freedom. All right? That level of acceptance can be absolutely glorious. But look, acceptance isn't passivity. Okay? I'm not telling you to let things run over you or wash off your back or no, okay? Acceptance isn't passive. It's the profoundly powerful first step towards intelligent action, okay? Not just an action, but a smart, well thought out action. It's the first step to catch yourself in the act of resistance, okay? You can identify a physical sensation and then literally name it, okay? You're like, okay, this is where my feet are. This is what I'm calling it, okay? That is the resistance, okay? Naming it, doing things like that, this is resistance, okay? Let it create a tiny gap between you and the reaction, okay? You've got to build that freedom gap, okay? That's the muscle. That's what we're training. We're training creating a gap between your cause and effect. Then let the statement, "This is it," be a liberating mantra, okay? And I know it's going to sound a little complicated, but Basically, what you want is, this is it, to not be a statement of defeat. Okay, we're not saying, oh, this is it, I guess this is what life has to offer. It's not that. It's a statement of fact. Okay, this is the moment. Okay, so, traffic. It doesn't have to be, this is it. I hit traffic going to the next city that's always so busy, but it can also be, okay, this is it. This is the traffic. This is a statement of fact of where I am. I'm in traffic, okay? But when it's a statement of fact, then you can decide, because this is the moment, how will I choose to meet it? Okay? This is just what's happening, okay? This is a reality in the moment, but I still have the choice in how I want to meet this head on, all right? Are you going to fight it, or are you going to use freedom? Are you going to resist it? So you're in pain because you're in traffic. Are you going to resist it and suffer? Or are you going to find a freedom and making an active choice to handle and deal with what's happening in the present now? Okay? This is it. This is my moment. This is the thing that's happening. Okay? And how do I choose to handle this moment? And then lastly, you clarify the moment you clarify the movement from acceptance to action, because there is a transition, there is a separation. That's why I said you can't be impulsive. You can say, this is it, this is the moment, but then you move from in that moment to, how am I going to react to this situation? Okay. The acceptance is, I accept that I'm sitting in traffic. I hate it. I'm upset about it. This is the moment. In this moment, I am upset about being in traffic. But I have to move from acceptance to, what is my action going to be? Am I going to choose to live in that emotion and pain? Or am I going to choose to do something different? You can accept a situation and still want to change it. You don't just have to waste energy fighting it, because it's not doing anything. Like, you could fight traffic all you want, but you're still in it. Your circumstance hasn't changed. I know you want it to, that's the whole point, but you can't resist what's already there that's out of your control, okay? When you're in a place of calm acceptance, though, you can choose an appropriate response, all right? Hey, I'm in traffic. Maybe I'll sit and listen to that audiobook that I have been meaning to, Maybe I'll get another episode of a podcast in, like, maybe there's something else I can do. Maybe I turn on the radio and sing my favorite song. Oh, there is an album that I wanted to listen to on my Apple Music, and I haven't had a chance to listen to it. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to get a chance to enjoy something I don't really always have the time to enjoy. Okay? That is a helpful response, rather than sitting there cursing out traffic and being mad at whatever caused it. Action from acceptance is powerful. Action from resistance is frantic. Okay? It's the difference between being like, I'm going to listen to an audiobook, which is, acceptance and acting because you've accepted it, or road rage and cursing somebody out for cutting you off trying to get through whatever traffic it is, and they're not paying attention, and now you're upset and you're reacting to that. That's frantic. All right. And this isn't just a technique. It's a way of interacting with the world. When you stop resisting, you can start discovering unexpected value in any situation. And that's important. You can always try the curiosity reframe. Okay. You are replacing judgment with curiosity. So not, this is terrible, but what's interesting about this? Okay. Like, you're trying to find something in the moment to not just be positive, but just be an interesting topic, okay? Things are now studies in human behavior and a master's class in patience. You're just like, I wonder what happened here. Oh, I can think about this situation and not just be like, oh, this is a terrible situation. Well, what about it? What about it is irking you? What about it is like, actually, this is a really interesting concept. You can also find the flow in the grind. Okay, because sometimes you gotta grind. Sometimes life is nitty gritty, but you gotta move through it. So how do I make it flow? Simple, mundane tasks can also turn into opportunities for presence. All right. Oh, I gotta do the dishes. Yeah, but Maybe while doing the dishes, I can see something on TV, or I can think about what I read, or I can hum a song, or I can just doing the dishes. It's like, I've been looking for this pot that I really need to cook with. Yay, I'm doing it. Okay. You can approach things as a challenge. Okay. I don't want to be doing these dishes. How quickly can I get them done? You can transform boredom into engagement. All right. That's what it means to find the flow in the grind. And then there's power in full sensory engagement. You will find power in that. The ultimate hack to break the cycle of mental resistance is full sensory engagement. When you see, hear, touch, smell, and maybe even taste what's going on around you, you are in the present. You are in the this is now. Your senses are an anchor out of mental drama. All right. And lastly, you can also use these information to have deep connections that impact relationships. Because if you're in the moment, you're focused on what's happening in that conversation, in that friendship, in that relationship with your significant other. Okay, you're listening to understand, not just reply. Like I said before, you're actually intentionally focused on conversation, because the greatest gift you can give is your full undivided attention. Hey, I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not being distracted by anything else. I am here. That will come off as intense because most people have never had that before. So sometimes you have to be prepared for it to be a little overwhelming for people, but that's what it should feel like. It should feel like, okay, I don't have anything else planned but to be with you. So let's figure out how to be together. This also is a gateway to deeper, more authentic relationships and conversations. Because now that I've given you my undivided attention, we can now actually flow in what's actually happening instead of being split in so many directions. Okay? Remember, living in the moment isn't about denying the past or the future. It's about putting them in their place. The past is a lesson, the future is a plan. But the now, right now, the now is life itself. This is living. It's the only place where true freedom, okay, the freedom to choose, to feel, to connect, to live, actually exists. And radical presence isn't about making every moment happy. Everything isn't always going to be happy. It's about making every moment. It's about trading the exhausting fantasy of how things should be for the profound, gritty, and utterly free experience of how things actually are. Stop wishing to make it better and appreciate what's actually good right now. This is where life is truly lived. So this week, I dare you to catch yourself in a resistance one time. Catch yourself being pulled into the past or future. Say to yourself, this is, and then try a 90-second body scan. Drop into your senses. Don't try to change anything. Just notice what shifts. So thanks for choosing to be here right now, right here. And remember, the now is all you own. So own it fully.
Remember, you don't need permission to be great. And this is your call to rise, to reclaim your power, and to step boldly into the life you were meant to live. I believe extraordinary potential lives in all of us. The dreams we've tucked away, the voice that was softened, and the fire that's been waiting to burn bright. This journey isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about shattering expectations and embracing your truest, most unapologetic self. No more shrinking or waiting for permission. The world needs your brilliance, your resilience, and your unique light. It's time to stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am more than enough. Your next chapter begins now. Let's write it with courage, audacity, and unshakable belief in who you are. The unstoppable person isn't born, they're awakened. And that person is you. Now go start your revolution. This world needs your unshaken light today.